Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The worst are movies or shows with little ambient audio flourishes, like something walking behind you or a knock, or I'm almost like, oh, is that something in the house? Because people knock.
You have a newborn and a toddler. You're excused from having to see anything.
Right, exactly.
I mean,
you'll get to it.
It's easier with newborns because they just see things moving, but they don't process it. But my eldest daughter is like, no, it's too scary. It's just the music. Nothing bad's gonna happen.
Oh wait, you're
grow up, you 3-year-old.
Listen, 3-year-old. Oh wait, when I was your age, my mother watched all sorts of horror movies, and I was scared. And I would have to. I was fine. Yeah, I'm totally fine. Not at all angry.
You for not letting me watch this show. Well, speaking of shows, why don't we do one right now called the Daily Tech News Show?
I think that's a wonderful idea.
Wonderful shoe.
I would like you to read line 3 today, Sarah.
I bet you would.
Do it as a favor for me. Come on.
Anything for you, Tom. 'Tis the season.
You're the best. All right. 10 seconds. Here we go. I will count you in from 5. And 5, 4, 3, 2.
Thanks to everyone who supports independent tech news directly. If you're not already, become a DTNS member at patreon.com/DTNS.
This is the Daily Tech News for Monday, December 3rd, 2018 in Los Angeles. I'm Tom Merritt.
And from Studio Feline, I'm Sarah Lane.
And from a warm and unseasonably warm LA area location, I'm Roger Chang, the show's producer.
Is it that warm where you are?
It is. It is.
It was kind of brisk in my neighborhood.
Kind of normal for LA right now. But nevertheless, that's not what we're here to talk about. We are here to update you on amazing advances in 5G. We have actual news for 5G. We're going to get to that. But let's start with a few tech things you should know.
In advance of Nigeria's February election, the Poynter Institute examined the spread of false information on WhatsApp, and a survey found that 28% of people in Nigeria shared information which turned out to be false.
Happens all over the world. NVIDIA unveiled the Titan RTX GPU, 24 gigabytes of GDDR6 VRAM in each card, 24, 72 Turing RT, and 4,608 CUDA cores. That's up from 68 and 4,352 in the RTX 2080 Ti. It is described in many headlines as a beast. It also more than doubled the price to $2,500 per card. They're really targeting like AI researchers and stuff, but it can be used in your video game machine. It is a consumer card. The $80 Titan RTX NVLink bridge was also introduced. That will let you join 2 Titan RTX cards for a mere $5,000. And if you did do that, you would get 100 gigabytes per second of total bandwidth on your video card. So,
speaking of AI, DeepMind's AlphaFold AI has yielded a fast method to find the 3D structure of proteins from the sequence of their amino acid molecules, winning an international protein folding competition. Determining folds used to take years in many cases, but AlphaFold can predict folds in a matter of hours. Determining protein folding is essential in treating many diseases, among other things.
Yeah, that's a good advance. And Tumblr told its users it will no longer allow adult content on the platform as of December 17th. Tumblr was removed from Apple's App Store a couple weeks ago, at which time Tumblr told users it had a zero tolerance policy when it comes to media featuring child sexual exploitation and abuse. Monday, CEO Jeff D'Onofrio announced the site would no longer allow explicit sexual content and nudity, with some exceptions, and they lined out some of those exceptions like breastfeeding or health stuff, things like that. So Tumblr cracking down.
Well, you know, in Instagram, it sounds kind of like Instagram's policy, right? Yeah, here's my question. Where do they all go? The user's going to go somewhere.
Those Tumblr users that were using it for that purpose, not the child stuff so much as
certainly not.
Just, erotica.
Yeah.
They're going to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Let us know. Back in Daily Tech News Show. Would be the normal thing I would say there. So I don't know. Let's talk a little more about AirPods.
Let's do it. Analyst Ming-Chi Kuo says that Apple will release upgraded AirPods with wireless charging support and upgraded Bluetooth in the Q1 of 2019. Redesigned AirPods will supposedly follow in 2020. That would be great because they don't actually fit my ears currently. Kuo also forecasts a rise in unit sales from 16 million in 2017 to 100 million. Yes, you heard that right, by 2021.
That's just AirPods. We also have a lot of other headphone manufacturers making similar wireless buds that you pop in and they automatically pair. The AirPods are definitely Apple's best-selling accessory. Kuo says that, and I have no reason not to believe that. I do think, okay, this is just personal, okay? But the other day I was thinking, I don't feel so weird wearing the AirPods out and about anymore because I see more people with them on. And so it's not, they don't stick out as much as they did. I remember when earphones with wires were weird in public and you felt a little self-conscious because you're like, people are like, what are those? But now everybody does it. Does it feel weird? I was hoping AirPods were getting to that point. Then a friend of mine made fun of me and was like, why do you have those cigarette butts hanging in your ear, Merritt?
I've never heard them referred to that way.
I hadn't heard that before either. So does this mean that form factor, not just AirPods, is definitely, though, despite my friend's clever remark, becoming just a normal thing? The normal way you wear your headphones with your phone.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, the Apple's AirPods, because they're like the earbuds, just don't fit my ears. I have weird ears. I don't know. I'm not the only one who complains about this, but when Tom says, I can jog with them, no problem, I'm like, that would last me 4 seconds.
Sure.
However, the idea of wireless headphones and certainly the kind of the earbud thing rather than a Bluetooth solution, you see it everywhere.
Yeah.
I certainly do. And yeah, I think that's just going to become more and more the way that people listen to stuff when they're in mobile.
Wired Bluetooth, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think so too. And maybe some of those other not off brands. That's horrible. Those alternative non-Apple brands fit your ears better. They're certainly cheaper.
Well, here's hoping.
Yeah. At 10 a.m. local time, December 1st, Japanese TV network NHK began broadcasting in 8K. 8K, folks. 8K broadcasting has begun. Mark it down in your calendars. Along with 22.2 channel sound. It's the first movie broadcast at 10:10 a.m. Local time, I think, was 2001: A Space Odyssey, which was rescanned from the original negatives for the broadcast. It was a 70 millimeter, I think, so it had nice big wide, yeah, lots of resolution. Sharp began selling its first super high vision 8K TV with built-in tuner last month for around $6,600. So you can buy 8K TVs, and if you live in Japan, you can receive one signal, and it's definitely the pretty channel. Like, other than 2001: A Space Odyssey, they're showing like pictures of Yosemite and folks on the ocean.
Yeah, wolves in Alaska. Yeah. Well, okay. Hey, someone's got to start, right? These sorts of stories, and I hate to be like, who cares, whatever, because it's technology. We're, the resolution is getting better than ever, and this is significant. I don't feel like I'm the target audience for anything like this. I mean, I can barely, read a menu in low light at a restaurant these days. So, but at the same time, for someone who can discern the difference, or at least cares that, if you're talking about specs, then sure. Okay. Here we are broadcasting in 8K.
Yeah. I don't think you're alone. I don't think anyone's super excited about 8K other than the technical advance of it, right? Like, it's not something that has an obvious advantage. Every review I read of it has people saying, yeah, but when I stepped back more than a foot, it didn't really look any different than 4K to me, right? So
right.
There are definitely things you can do with 8K that you can't do because you've got all that resolution, cool tricks and zooms and stuff like that. But I wonder if 8K will be the first advance that isn't immediately taken up. 4K has been a little bit taken up with a little bit less enthusiasm than HD, because you have to have HDR to really make it look different. And otherwise people are like, yeah, okay, it's got more resolution, but when I'm sitting on my couch, I don't really notice. So I'm curious about 8K, whether it's going to take longer. I think eventually it will take over because you'll be able to do more with more resolution. It'll get cheaper, etc. But it may take a lot longer to catch on.
I mean,
NH doing it in Japan simply because they want to be ready for the Olympics and have an Olympic broadcast in 8K, which is always
good point.
it's a very interesting technology, and it's typically kind of industry oriented in that they want to push more upgrade products that people they hope will upgrade to. It kind of reminds me of 3D, where 3D was like in every TV that you saw for sale at Best Buy or on Amazon, because that was the thing. Everyone was going to have 3D. You just need to wear glass. It kind of petered out because it was convoluted for a lot of people who didn't feel like wearing glasses, but they also didn't really see a benefit because 99% of their viewing was watching the news or watching their Netflix or watching something that wasn't 3D.
Yeah, you had to do something to watch 3D. I think that was its biggest downfall. If it had just been built in and everything was in 3D, then it might have caught on because people are like, well, it's there. It's in my TV. I think that's why 4K is catching on in a lot of cases. People just buy a new TV and it's got 4K and they're like, oh, well, okay, I guess I'm watching 4K then.
Yeah, right. Even somebody who's not necessarily interested in these specs is like, what's 4K? Means better resolution. Well, I want that one.
Yeah.
Well. Some people will glom onto that, whether or not they care about 4K exactly. The Wall Street Journal reports its sources say that Amazon is testing its cashierless system used in Amazon Go convenience stores in a larger grocery store type layout. At Amazon Go, customers scan a barcode on entry, and then their selections are tracked and automatically charged to an Amazon account when they leave. We've talked about this before on the show. Amazon previously denied plans to use this cashierless checkout in its Whole Food stores. So one asks themselves, is Amazon going to take on Whole Foods with itself?
Yeah, that's weird. That'd be like Amazon.
It's weird, but Amazon does these things.
Yeah, sometimes. It does, right? Amazon go big. Here's the non-organic grocery store. For yeah. Well, I was thinking about this, and I hadn't actually thought about it in that like perspective, which is pretty intriguing. But I was thinking maybe Amazon would sell this technology to other grocery chains, right? Because they do that too. That's Amazon Web Service. So maybe they wouldn't use it in Whole Foods, but would provide a platform for other big chains to turn their grocery stores into cashierless. But it doesn't have to be either or. It could be that plus what you're saying, where there's also these, big Amazon grocery chains that aren't Whole Foods somehow.
Well, so here's my question. Why wouldn't they want to do this with Whole Foods? Amazon owns Whole Foods. Whole Foods is, depending on where you live, certainly where I live, it's my favorite grocery chain. I'm there all the time. I like the cashiers and, it all works fine. But on a busy day and there's lots of lines, I could see where it would be advantageous to take the whole, checking out part out of the equation. But why would you not do that? Is it because we're sort of in this kind of bridge area of grocery where certain people are like, I'm just not comfortable not having.
I think that's your biggest thing is the Whole Foods clientele in particular are a little bit tech resistant. They don't love the idea that Amazon owns their Whole Foods store. And getting rid of cashiers might not play well. Like you're getting rid of jobs. It's automation taking jobs away. Plus, you have a labor problem with Whole Foods employees already. You might not want to make that worse by introducing this. And every Whole Foods I've ever been at has a really prominent security person standing outside, which makes me think that they have a problem with shoplifting that maybe wouldn't be the best test case for cashierless. I don't know. Microsoft will add real-time captions and subtitles to Windows, Mac, and online versions of PowerPoint in late January. The AI will support 12 spoken languages and display on screen in more than 60 languages, so it can do translation as well. At the same time, Microsoft has launched similar technology for Skype today. Users can read the words on screen as spoken. The feature auto scrolls right now, but Microsoft is working on a way to scroll through captions in a side window if you want to kind of scroll back into the conversation. 20 languages will be supported in Skype as it rolls out over the next few weeks. So if you launch Skype today, it may or may not be there for you, but it's rolling out over the next few weeks. Real-time translation.
I mean, I'm into it. I can think of several instances over the last few years where, you know, I wanted to talk to somebody where language was a barrier, and this would have gone over real nice.
Yeah, the translation is great for language barrier. Just the captioning is great for accessibility. If you're hearing impaired, I could think of maybe some streamers would use it to just provide live captioning as they go along. It must be good enough. It'll be interesting to see how well it works.
Well, and that's the question, right? Like, how good is it?
These things, they used to be horrible. I mean, the YouTube auto captioning was awful in days gone by. But with AI advances with machine learning, they've improved a lot. So I'm going to assume it's serviceable. But I can't wait to try it out.
Me as well. The Ryan's Toys Review YouTube channel. Have you heard of it? Well, it features 8-year-old Ryan, is listed as the top moneymaker on YouTube at 22 million subscribers over 12 months from June to June, according to Forbes, or $22 million rather. Jake Paul took second place at $21.5 million. And Dude Perfect, I don't know you, but a lot of people do, because you were third at 20 million. Ryan's parents set up the channel in March of 2015. They've been doing it for a little bit. Has almost 26 billion views and 17.3 million followers. That's crazy. In August, Walmart began selling a range of toys and clothing called Ryan's World. This has really caught on.
Now, I believe since around March 2015, Roger has been telling me about the toy vloggers on YouTube and how it's becoming.
OMG, Tom. It is one of the most mystifying, but also like you understand it, but you look at it, you still like, why? Essentially
mystifying in the sense of that you don't think it's good content.
It's like you're cranking in $22 million and all you do is run around and play with toys. Like, it's not even shot well. It's just someone running around playing with toys. They make up little silly vignettes. So understand this. There might be a few more people involved, but it's mostly Ryan, his brother or sister, his dad and his mother, all involved, and they do these little silly skits. He plays with toys, like he'll do like toy unboxings, what have you. But if you saw it, it would look like someone's home video. But this genre of kids' YouTube videos is hot because it's safe. Kids watch it and they enjoy it because even though they may not be interacting, kids actually like it watching other kids play. That's what I've learned, even though as adults we tend to shy away from that. But it spawned a host of imitators. So while there's a Ryan, there's kind of a Ryan clone from Australia who does something very similar. There's a little Russian girl with her dad who does these videos out in like Indonesia or something where they live. It's like literally everyone and their mother. And this is like one of those kind of gold rush moments where everyone sees, I can make money by doing silly videos that kids will watch hours on end, and I will be able to make money enough that I can quit my day job and just do this full time. And
now that brings up the question, Roger, why you haven't done this with your children.
Believe
Roger,
me,
you could be a millionaire.
So my wife basically summed it up in one sentence. It's like, we have too much self-respect to like, there's a level of putting yourself out there and looking like a goofball. Like, you have to be of that disposition, and I am not.
Well, okay, so this actually kind of brings up something that, all of us as producers, there's a certain, level of quality when you think of video production, right? Where you go, oh, okay, well, somebody's going the cheap route. But that's not necessarily marketed to kids. It's just, SEO and whatever. How much does it, I don't know, scare parents when something like this is so popular that isn't necessarily done that well? According to you, Roger, I haven't seen these videos, but how much does it bother you that this is something that a child who's very malleable and has a lot to learn is absorbing? You kind
of roll your eyes when you first see it because, like I said, you're watching someone else's home videos and they're making money off of it. The second thing is you kind of relent because your kid keeps quiet and engaged, keeps them off your back. So it provides a service. It's a weird, and this is why it's both understandable, but also mystifying. It's like $22 million. So your kid runs around. He's literally stream of consciousness. Oh, look, I have a pumpkin that when you smack it cycles through these LED lights. Oh, that's like 10 minutes right there of like a 30-minute clip, and you have a channel full of these.
Ryan told NBC that he is so popular because he's entertaining and fun.
Well, sure. I mean, and I hope he feels that way.
It
just sounds like the execution leaves a little bit to be desired for people who might also have a channel like this.
It works. It works for them. Yeah. It works for these people.
The only one bothered by the production value.
Actually, if all of you, yeah.
I'm just curious if there's going to be child actor like issues with children.
There will be, because a lot of these kids are at the stage where they're very recognizable by other kids.
Yeah.
When they're out and about. Now, if they do the kind of whole Winnie from not Growing Pains, from the Wonder Years, and you disappear for like 8 years, 10 years, and no one knows what happens to you, I'm sure you could live a pretty decent life.
I mean, I don't know if you keep Winnie's a math whiz.
Yeah,
she
exactly.
Never went anywhere.
But she wasn't on camera the same way that Fred Savage continued to be.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, folks, if you want to get all of the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, be sure to subscribe to our other show, dailytechheadlines.com. All right, we got 3 big 5G stories today. Bloomberg reporting that Apple won't release a 5G-capable iPhone until 2020. That's not a surprise. I know that Mark Gurman and friends over at Bloomberg need to do this story. It's their due diligence reporting the story. But they did a very good job of pointing out this is what Apple always does. They weren't first on LTE. They didn't come out with a 3G iPhone. When they first came out with the iPhone, even though 3G was around, they usually wait for service to become more widespread. The question is, will this be the time that's not the right strategy to do? Will 5G be different because carriers are pouring so much money into prioritizing 5G phones because the speeds are so much faster? Personally, I'm going to put it out there in the line. I don't think so. I think if iPhone waits till 2020 for 5G, that'll be fine, because these networks really won't be widespread enough by then. If they go faster than I expect, could be wrong. Samsung, however, announced it plans to release a 5G capable smartphone sometime in the first half of 2019, and Verizon is going to carry it. Verizon and Samsung are showing off a proof of concept of the phone at Qualcomm's Snapdragon Technology Summit this week, using the X50 5G modem from Qualcomm. Samsung makes its own 5G modem, the Exynos 5100, but they generally will put that in international markets and use the Qualcomm model in the US and a few other markets. And South Korean carriers SK Telecom, KT, and LG U+ all launched their 5G networks over the weekend. SK Telecom CEO Park Jung-ho even made the world's first commercial 5G video call using a Samsung prototype 5G phone. Now, this service is all enterprise. If you're an enterprise, you can get it. If you're a consumer, hold on. You got to wait to get your 5G service in Korea until March. So, Verizon has launched some of their service, 5G NR service. We've got these enterprise level services coming in Korea. It's happening. 5G is real and it's getting launched. And over the course of the next year, we're going to see more and more of it getting launched. Samsung is obviously out there saying, we want to, putting a prototype in the CEO of SK Telecom's hand, working with Verizon at the Qualcomm, like, yep, absolutely. We're going to have these 5G phones. And as I said just a minute ago, I'm not sure that hurts Apple to wait. Why am I wrong, Sarah?
I don't think you're wrong at all. Apple is, when you think of, okay, well, what is Apple at the forefront of? It's new hardware technology, right? Oh, we made a new smartphone that now everybody's going to copy. Of course, I'm talking about the iPhone that launched many years ago, or the iPad, or a variety of other hardware devices. When it comes to the infrastructure that can power a new iPhone, right? So let's think of, in terms of a smartphone for 5G, Apple would want to put something out there where it's like the whole 5G thing is 2019 is going to be very interesting for this. And yes, you have lots of companies clamoring to be the first, but Apple doesn't do that.
Yeah.
And Apple doesn't want it to be sort of confusing and messy. They want everyone to understand what 5G is first. And then they say, we have the best 5G capable iPhone. or smartphone rather, that happens to be an iPhone on the market. And we weren't first, but we're better because they do that every time with all of their hardware.
Yeah, because they don't want to sell something on 5G and then have a bunch of their folks buy it and say, well, wait, I don't even get 5G where I'm at. Of course, they could come out with a 5G version in Korea and be just fine because all 3 carriers just launched it over the weekend. So, I mean, that's definitely going to be there. Roger, I'm curious if you think it's a mistake for Samsung to come too early.
I think it's a little different because Samsung is also like a national champion in South Korea. So there they can have the infrastructure that supports it. So what if other regions don't have it? They'll have it in their product chain. And when those different markets, even in the US, if you won't get 5G across the country overnight, but you will get it in large metro areas, you could definitely start feeding into those regions as well. So for the pardon me, for them, it's like, well, we already have the technology. We can already use the service, in our home market, probably adjacent markets as well. So why not just build it? And then, when other markets catch up with the technology, we can, feed into that as well. For Apple, I mean, they're working on a slightly different premise. They're selling services, online services, and they're selling their phones. And if they don't think they can make enough on a return selling a 5G phone, I mean, there's no point in it.
I mean, we have a prediction show coming up, so I should save some of this powder, I think. But I'm going to guess that Apple comes out with an LTE advanced phone that they claim is faster, almost as fast as these 5G phones you're hearing about. We get another round of iPhones aren't selling as fast as they should have, and it's because they didn't put 5G in them at the end of next year. And then Apple comes out with a 5G iPhone the year after. And their market share continues to just muddle along where it is, period.
I think that's a pretty good prediction. Put it in the show, Tom. Hey, thanks everybody who participates in our subreddit. Sometimes there are 5G predictions. Sometimes there are other stories. You can submit your own and vote on other people's stories at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. We're also on Facebook. Hang out with us if you like Facebook groups, facebook.com/groups/dailytechnewsshow. You know who we haven't talked to in quite some time is Nate Langson. So happy to have him back, sharing a preview of what's coming up on the next text message.
Thanks, guys. How would you like to be on a high-speed train and be able to have your packages from Amazon or food deliveries from some other provider delivered to you in your seat while you're traveling? It sounds a bit far-fetched, but that is exactly what's being proposed in Britain as part of a $71 billion project for an entirely new national railway system across the nation. You can learn more about it by listening to the latest episode of Text Message, episode 153, at techpodcast.uk, or by searching for TECH' message in your podcast store of choice. Back to you.
I will respond to Nate and Ian's discussion of Amazon delivering packages to your seat on high-speed trains with the you never know what it's good for until they put it in place.
I just want a high-speed train.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Give me that first.
High-speed train.
Then we'll talk about packages.
We do get virtual packages, right, Sarah? Right here at the show.
Yeah, Tom, I'm glad you mentioned that. In fact, sometimes they come in the form of emails, and we'll stick with the UK for a minute because John from slightly cold and very wet Basingstoke in the UK wrote us in and said, I have a quick tip for cleaning out your old gadgets in advance of all the great new bits and pieces you're going to be getting as gifts. Do something good with your old gadgets. Sell them on eBay and opt to donate 100% of the sale proceeds to a charity of your choice. I only recently found out you can donate your eBay sale proceeds to charity. This saves me the hassle of getting money to a charity and then encourages me to sell off all the things that are not worth very much, but are worth more than nothing. My most recent sale, my original Nexus 1 phone, it was £16.50, the proceeds of which will help care for cats that are looking to be rehomed. Oh, John, I like you already. Hopefully, the simple tip will help users in clearing out things that they don't need and also benefit others.
What a lovely thought, John. And I had no idea that eBay made it so easy to donate your proceeds. I know some of you will want to keep the money for yourself, and that's fine too. But if you're like, yeah, I want to get rid of this stuff, but ahead of Christmas and, I don't really need to be a money grubber, or maybe you do. Maybe you need some money to buy those gifts for other people. That works too. You know, you're sharing the love in either way. So that's really cool. Thank you, John.
Thanks, Sean.
And thank you for supporting us on Patreon. We did hit our goal of having, I think, 6 more patrons than last month. So we have 7 more patrons this month. That could be you. In fact, we're still offering a holiday card to anyone who signs up between now and the 5th. You have 2 days left to sign up at patreon.com/DTNS. Or if you're already a patron, to make sure that your mailing address at patreon.com/pledges is authorized for us to see. And then you'll get a holiday card sent to you with a special message from us and art by Len Peralta. Remember, sign up within the next 2 days at patreon.com/DTNS.
If you have feedback for us, we'd love to hear it. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Bookmark it and send us something. We're live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 21:30 UTC, and you can find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live.
Back tomorrow with Patrick Beja. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Yes.
Nailed it.
So good.
Which is funny because somebody is jackhammering out on the street, and I'm glad they weren't doing that the entire show.
The only thing I heard was somebody's messaging device was beeping.
Wasn't me. It was somebody's G-chat. I know that sound.
Yeah, thing.
Wasn't me. Well, actually, I don't know that it wasn't me, but I don't.
Yeah,
think
I was about to say it wasn't me, and then I was like, wasn't me?
Yeah, let's look. It wasn't me. It was Roger.
Might be. I mean, I don't know.
They're very popular.
Yeah. All right. Well, without pointing fingers at anyone.
No, you can point them at me, Tom. I'll take it.
No, it's totally me. I just looked at somebody I just gotta remember to close Gmail before we do the show.
Somebody's G-chat was going off. Damn it, it was me.
Just point it at me, Tom. That's what it
No,
means.
it was. No, I'm telling you, it was me.
When you put me on that chunk of wood, let them know how I was in life.
What chunk of wood?
Nothing.
You're talking about pounding sand?
Oh, I'll get What about one station in 8K and nothing's on?
Well, but something is on.
I mean, I get 100 channels.
Yeah. Got it.
All right.
One 8K station, and all I get to see is 2001.
I
get it.
It's working hard.
I like that reference better, but it's still kind of long.
We have 8K TVs, but no regular flights to the moon. What's going on?
Let's just make the sentence even longer.
Yes, I like the sentiment, but the title is getting longer and longer.
8K costs 6K, and nothing's on.
What? So you really want the one station?
All right. We could also do amazing advances in 5G. If you build 5G, they will come.
That's
or you could YouTube what you love.
I have no favorite. That makes sense?
I kind of like the 8K. Let's maybe we can play off of one of these.
8K's no marathon.
Station 8K, nothing's on. Okay, I mean that's good by Ocow. Maybe I'm being too literal by saying, well, something's on, but not really very much. What about turn on the 8K content, Hal?
You could do that.
I like that one. You didn't like that one?
8K content.
Roger yells at Cloud.
Do I get to see more ups? I
think Stoic Squirrel was calling you an old man.
People have been calling me an old man since high school. That's not new. Get in line. I have old people tell me I'm an old man.
Well, we're all old men.
I
When I
like
come around
you
for
think
the
about
early
it.
bird special.
Roger yells at Cloud is winning now.
I know. That's why I hate saying these things out loud because I'm
I
I'm
Well, we want to.
I actually, if you build 5G, they will come was the one that.
Yeah, let's
So-
do that. Build
Okay.
5G. They will.
all
come.
right.
Strike it rich. You might strike it rich if you put your kids on the YouTube. On the YouTube. Daddy, why do I have to act like a jerk? Because it's YouTube.
But I don't even understand what a jerk is.
You will when you get lots and lots of comments.
When someone tells you you're one.
I did. We sort of passed over it, but BioCow is
Pass over.
contesting because he had the 8K and nothing is on suggestion. We passed over the fact that Logan Paul has been falling in the rankings for YouTube revenue, while his brother is number 2.
Oh. What's his brother's
Now,
name?
and Logan was the one in Japan.
Yes, and has
Yes.
apologized sincerely for that.
Right. I just, I try to keep my YouTube stars straight.
Mhm.
He was
And
just
Jake-
trying to find new experiences for his channel.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, we don't need to relitigate that. But Jake is his brother is number 2.
Well, Jake, I don't know. You Paul kids.
You
You've,
fall for the balls.
The Paul guy.
The Paul guy. That's good.
Yeah, I don't know what it's for.
Who was in the Fall Guy, by the way?
The TV show, that was Lee Majors.
It was?
Yep.
Yeah. It was his first show after $6 Million Man, I think.
One of his big name show because he was the star, but also he sang the theme song to the show.
He did?
Yes, and that's why it's
Good
really
trivia.
bad. It's really bad. He didn't write it; he just sang it.
This is Wikipedia's description of the Fall Guy. Hollywood stuntman Colt Seavers picks up some extra pocket money by using his rough and tumble skills to track and capture ball jumpers, helped by his green younger cousin Howie and Jody, a beautiful
Bail
stunt
jumpers.
colleague.
Bail jumpers because
Not
they're
ball
jumping.
Oh, bail jumpers. Not ball jumpers, although probably there's some crossover.
Not illegal.
The Fall Guy. Yeah, see, The Fall Guy was one of those shows where it was like, it was too mature for me. Like, I didn't really understand it, but I knew that it was a cool show.
It was weird in that it overlapped a lot of the popular 80s genre, primetime genres. It had the A-Team. It had the buddy cop show.
Yeah.
It had a bit of the PI, private investigation detective. So
Yeah.
that was all kind of morphed into like a two-fisted, like I'm going to punch my way out of this situation. That's what they do. They either drive or they punch their way out of all the bad situations. It's kind of like Simon and Simon, but a little more lowbrow.
Simon and Simon. Oh, now we're real going back.
Or you could
The
describe
Fall Guy
Simon
premiered in
Man.
1981, which is earlier than I thought. Okay, so let's look at Simon and Simon.
I wanted to like the Fall Guy because I was a huge $6 Million Man fan, but I didn't really like it that much.
I liked it because it was silly. I also like the fact that it was one of the few shows that is a Dukes of Hazzard where the cars regularly jumped over another car.
Okay, so Simon and Simon's first episode date was also in 1981.
It was a banner year for television, 1981.
Apparently so. Do you guys remember that song, I Love Rainy Night?
Eddie Rabbit.
It was?
Yeah.
Well, that was
See it in-
1981 too, if I'm not mistaken.
And It Makes Me High was the part I'm like, Rainy Night does? Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, what's that mean?
You smoking it?
You're right. It was Eddie Rabbit. That's so
Oh, yeah. I used to play that.
Yep. Also 1981.
In 1986, I would play that.
Or no, released in
Don't play too much of it.
Yeah, but that's Lee Majors attempting to sing.
Oh, I thought that was Eddie Rabbit.
No, that's not Eddie Rabbit. Eddie Rabbit has a much better voice.
1980. I Love a Rainy Night was released.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I used to play it off the Eddie Rabbit Greatest Hits albums.
This was it was one of the first I don't know, like adult songs I remember as a very little kid being like, I love the song. Yay.
What did you consider an adult song? Just something that was like on the adult radio station?
Yeah, something that wasn't like I don't know, a Disney
Kangaroo
album or exactly. Yeah, something that was a top 40 song that like my parents were listening to on the radio.
Like I remember the first album my sister ever bought, and there was a Brian Adams. That was at Summer '69, the one with
Wonderful song. One of the best.
Bought it at Tower Records when they were still around.
I got my first plastic train.
My first album I ever bought was John Denver's Greatest Hits Volume 2.
You didn't even get the first volume?
We already had it.
Oh. Yeah, can I add this to the collection?
My sister made fun of me. She's like, really? Because mom and dad are like, pick out an album and you can get your first album. And so I picked it out. And my sister's like, really? That's what you're going to pick? That's going to be your first album for the rest of your life. And she was so right.
And that's, I mean, you can't change your first album.
You're not going to lie.
Nope, that's what it was.
So
I don't remember what my first full album was, because there were Muppet albums and sort of like kid stuff. But I had a Fisher Price record player. You know, I definitely remember my two first 45s were 9 to 5 by Dolly Parton and Tide is High by Blondie.
This is my first 45. I have it right here.
What is
I
it?
bet you
Moving
do.
On by Bad Company.
Ooh.
They don't make 45s anymore, do they?
I don't know. Do they not? I know they make vinyl. There's a story about the vinyl process has been improved because vinyl sales are so good.
Yeah, but vinyl 45 sales, I don't think exist.
Yeah, well, I don't know. You may be absolutely
I mean,
right.
I'm actually somebody who's a like a
LP or
a DJ or somebody who knows would be able to school us on this. But yeah, I haven't seen a 45 in a long time.
78s? Do they still make the 78s?
What about those 8 tracks?
Oh, yeah. 16s. Those were rare.
Working 9 to 5. Made to make a living.
Barely getting by.
Barely.
It's all taking and no giving.
Loved it. Yeah, I mean, between 9 to 5 and Tide is High, which are like weirdly very similar songs. I don't think my parents did that on purpose. But yeah, I mean, for like a solid year, I mean, they must have hated me. That's all I played over and over for 12 hours a day in my bedroom.
BioCow just in the chat room said, I'll pay you $20 right now if you can reach off screen and produce a thimble. All my thimbles are in the other room.
Yeah. You've figured out something that Tom does not have at his fingertips.
I've always said it's a magic trick. I can never do it on demand. It's me working into the conversation the thing I have at hand. Damn it, I really wish I had a thimble.
What's the purpose of a thimble?
Protect your thumb.
Now that I think about it.
When you protect your thumb when you're running the needle through your whatever you're sewing.
Okay. As a non-sewer, I don't know these things. I know what a thimble is, but I don't know really why.
I didn't know how to sew until junior high when
I
English
still don't know
teacher
how to sew, but I do it all the time.
declared, "You don't know how to sew." It's like
I don't know how to sew.
I know how to sew buttons.
Nope.
Buttons. I just know how to sew buttons. That's really just what.
When this hasn't happened in a long time, but when I've attempted to put a button back on a sweater, whatever, I just go around so many times that it just won't fall off again. But it's not correct sewing. I don't know how to actually do that.
I darn socks, and my method is awful, and it would make someone who knows how to properly darn socks pale.
Roll their eyes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it keeps my socks nice and unholy.
Roger? Maybe you should.
I don't think there's enough fabric.
Take a page out of Tom's book here.
I could just open the plastic and release the 12 new pairs or 8 new pairs.
Well, I only
But then
do
they'd
it
lose their value.
They would.
I only do it for wool socks. I don't do it for special socks like Roger has.
Special socks. They're just the problem is if you get a bunch of white, just athletic socks, they tend to be too thick for the summer. And then they, I don't know. Socks are weird.
Socks are weird.
Because
although every once in a while I will buy socks that are thick in the way that you're describing because the shoes I want to wear them with are a tiny bit too big. And it kind of works itself out.
you can't layer socks the way you would layer a top, which kind of sucks.
Too hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, unless it's like crazy cold outside, you never layer socks.
You just need leg warmers.
Oh, man.
You cut off the toe part and then it just warms your legs.
Wool socks are just so good, and I wear them half the year. And I usually buy a new pair every year as the old ones do wear out. But I got to the point where I'm like, well, this is silly to just throw away an otherwise perfect pair of.
Because there's a little hole.
Yeah. So I learned
yeah.
socks, so I could keep them, and it works great. And now that I've caught up, like I've patched up the thin places and stuff, I don't have to darn them nearly as often as I was last year.
Darn those socks.
That's where the
Darn
expression
that cat.
comes from. Like a police and a fireman, too hot.
Oh my God, it's like I'm listening to a live show.
Oh, it's a punchy Monday. Happy
It is.
December, everyone.
It's only going to get punchier from here, folks. Unfortunately, you'll only be able to listen to us be punchy. So hang around, audio folks. Video folks, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time. Audio folks, stick around. There's more punchiness to come.
Punch.